So I did my New Warrior Training Adventure weekend in February of 2011. I was 62 years old at the time. I was an educator, sort of in the second half of my career as a teacher, working at an alternative high school in Sandpoint, Idaho. I was in the midst of a second failing marriage, really struggling to understand why I was so easily triggered. My relationship with my second wife was growing increasingly stressful. In fact, at the time that I actually did the weekend, I was in the midst of a separation. Part of my motivation for looking into the work was I thought that it might be a vehicle for me to find a way to help reconcile with my second wife. And the reality was I found instead, a number of men who were emphasizing that their role was not to give me marital advice, but to simply be a place where I could speak what I was dealing with, feel like I was really being heard, and encouraged to find my own voice and find my own sense of what I wanted to do with my life. And largely what grew out of that was a deeper awareness that it was right for me to end that marriage, and to begin to experience what I would judge to be a greater degree of authenticity in living the life that I wanted to live. And shortly after I got more involved in the men's work, I met my current partner. And it was really at the very beginning of our relationship that I was faced again with this question that I had in both of my previous marriages. And that was an awareness that there were parts of me that were constrained, that were restricted in some way. And one of the things that I was working on early in the work was trying to deal with what I characterized as a kind of emotional blockage. And I was honest with my relationship with Kim, my partner, at the very beginning about the fact that this was something that I struggled with. And rather than trying to hide that like I had in my previous marriages, I was very open about it and willing to speak my truth to her. And interestingly, and I think this is a truth that we tend to emphasize in the work, that when we bring those shadow pieces of our life out into the light, that oftentimes rather than finding the result being that you push people away, it's quite the opposite. And that was certainly the case here. Kim was very understanding of that and willing to accept that as a part of who I am. And interesting, and perhaps ironically, in that space where you find yourself accepted, then many of those concerns or questions or doubts begin to shrink in the light of love and acceptance.